Welcome back to Celeb Daily Info, your go-to spot for uncensored truth and bold commentary. If you love real talk, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a drop. Now let's get into it. This weekend is about to be wild. 3 major events are colliding, and it's shaping up to be one of the most chaotic moments in recent political memory. And yes, this all goes down under the watch of current President Donald Trump. First, you've got tanks rolling through Washington, D.C., along with over 7,000 marching soldiers as part of a massive display for the 250th anniversary of the United States Army. Second, No Kings demonstrations are planned across the country to protest President Trump and his administration's increasingly authoritarian tone. And third, it just so happens to be Trump's birthday. Yes, really. The president is throwing himself a parade. Here's what Trump had to say about anyone who dares to protest his celebration.
And we're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protester wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is people that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force.
And we're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot going on. And if there's any protesters that come out, they will be met with big force. These are people who hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force. And when asked what kind of protests the president supports, his spokesperson said this: "The president absolutely supports peaceful protests, but he does not support violence of any kind."
Clarify what kind of protest President Trump does support or find acceptable?
The president absolutely supports peaceful protests. He supports the First Amendment. He supports the right of Americans to make their voices heard. He does not support violence of any kind. He does not support assaulting law enforcement officers who are simply trying to do their job.
So if there were peaceful protests on Saturday for the military parade, President Trump would allow that?
Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question.
Joy had something to say about that, and she didn't hold back.
Delightful. What a delight.
Well,
I happen to recall that on January 6th, you were going to say it. Go ahead.
Sarah jumped in to point out the double standard, that Trump claims to oppose violence unless it was on January 6th, which he's defended and even pardoned participants from. Sarah also said, "When I think of military parades, I think of Russia and North Korea."
Like he doesn't approve of any violence or violence against law enforcement unless it was on January 6th. And that's what we pardoned on day one.
Yeah.
So, but I don't understand this. I can't be the only one. When I think of military parades, I think of Russia, I think of North Korea. I have these visuals of people saluting and doing things. And that's just not what I think of when I think of the U.S. And Senator Rand Paul said, we were always different than these images. And we were proud not to be that. And then you also think about the conversations about cutting waste. And here you've got, like, how much is this going to cost? $40 million.
On the low end, yeah.
Yeah.
On the low end, up to
Who
45
thinks,
million,
like,
yeah.
okay, let's cut, like, all the aid and the school lunches and all the good stuff, but let's throw a parade that harkens World War II propaganda and just throw the money that way. I can't keep up.
And she's right. This kind of military pageantry is not a typical American tradition. Senator Rand Paul even stated Americans used to be proud not to mimic that type of show of force. And then there's the cost, $45 million, and that's just for the parade. Trump is also sending the National Guard and Marines to California, bringing the cost up to nearly $200 million. This comes at a time when the Veterans Affairs Department is being gutted. Sonny's take on the VA cuts: 6,000 veterans have already been fired. Another 80,000 could lose their jobs. Meanwhile, those who remain struggle with PTSD, homelessness, and lack of care.
What's so distasteful about this is not only the cost, but the cuts that have happened with the Veterans Affairs. I mean, if you think about it, let's see, 6,000 veterans were fired due to budget cuts and layoffs. There are plans to remove up to 80,000 employees who provide support to veterans as well, and to spend $45 million and not and have these cuts, it just doesn't make sense. The best way to honor our troops is to make sure that our veterans are taken care of. That's right. The most important thing.
Well, Anna took a stand announcing she'll be protesting in Miami. Not because I hate my country, but because I love it. I'm protesting this authoritarian move. She also mentioned veterans facing deportation and said this militarized display is un-American. She compared it to North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Joy added more fire, reminding viewers that Trump avoided military service due to bone spurs and that no one in his family has ever served. Yet he's the one throwing himself a military parade. And then there's the lack of Republican support. Only 7 out of 50 congressional Republicans told Politico they plan to attend. Even Lindsey Graham, a veteran, is skipping it. The reason? The money, the optics, and the fact that this parade looks more like a tribute to Trump than a tribute to the military. Alyssa broke it down. Yes, Americans love to celebrate our troops. But this is something else. Then came the big one. Sunny and Alyssa agreed that showcasing the military is one thing, but tying it to a president's birthday and making it a partisan spectacle, that's counterproductive, even dangerous. And did we mention this all comes as the US military struggles with a recruitment crisis? Only 9% of Americans aged 16 to 24 say they'd even consider joining. So is this parade really about the army, or is it just another Trump show? We want to know what you think. Is this a proper way to honor the military, or just another self-congratulatory display from the president? Drop a comment below. Remember, stand for what's right, stand for truth, and if you love this country, demand better from its leaders. Thank you for watching Celeb Daily Info. Smash that like button, subscribe for more truth bombs, and as always, stay loud, stay proud, and stay informed.